Hello, hello, hello. Today I'm talking with my friend Olivier Costa. We talked about learning during mobbing and the strange subspecies called developers.
I'm Ivanul from Who's Agile. My pronouns are he and him. Welcome to my channel. You see a lot of agilists around me on this screen. If you want to hear me interviewing, please click that subscribe button because these are the people that I've invited so far. If you think I'm missing people, let me know in the comments. And that like button, well, if you liked today's interview, don't forget to click it.
Are you a Scrum or Agile enthusiast? Would you like to grow in your role? Or would you like to connect with peers around the world? Then the Online Scrum Master Summit is just for you. My name is Esther Schmid, and I'm the main host of this global summit. You can join us from the 17th to the 19th of June, all virtually. So join us because we have great keynotes, insightful talks, and hands-on workshops. So go to osms25.com and register for free. Looking forward to see you there.
Hello everyone, and hello with me I have Olivier. I guess that's how I should pronounce your name.
Yes, true.
Welcome. And welcome
Thank you.
here. I want to show for the few people that don't know you, well, people up, and I have a problem with my mouse. I'm here in Ghent, in Belgium, and you're not that far away in Stekene.
Nope.
So that
Quite
is,
near.
we could actually have driven to each other to do this, but because of our agendas, it's also nicer to do it online because I have some things to do after this conversation as well. And for we're recording it on a Friday evening, let's say 20 minutes after 5 in my time, and I guess it's the same time zone.
Exactly the same time. Yes.
And Olivier, before we jump into the questions, for the few people that don't know you, who are you? What do you want people to know about you?
Yeah, good question. So I think I'm quite an open book. So I'm what you see is what you get. If I have high energy, you'll know it. If I have low energy, you'll also know it. If I'm annoyed, you'll know it. The things that are that are interesting or that I find interesting, I'll talk about it. So it's quite an open book. I'm passionate about the things that we're doing. So that you're doing, what I'm doing, and in generating value using software. So that's what I'm passionate about. Because I like the structures. I like patterns. I like structures, finding structure, and squeezing all the juice out of it, and that's what led me into software development.
And
So
for the people that don't know, we've worked on multiple occasions. We've collaborated and worked together, or at least I enjoyed working together. I don't know about you, but I guess because you say
reciprocal.
we seem to have a way to connect, and when we work together, like okay, and understanding where we want to go, even if we're coming from a slightly different angle. So yeah, that's I tried to remember just before we started, when did we connect? I think probably
2000 something, 2004, 5, 6 or something.
I was thinking something similar very early on in the XP community in Belgium.
Yes, the XP community, probably. Yeah.
That's where we ran into each other.
Well,
And
so the people that saw me there in the, or that know me from the XP days, they probably know that I've been so that at that time I was very deep into martial arts, and I like the philosophy behind things. I like the patterns behind things. Again, that's what I like. And recently I started picking up sailing, which is a whole endeavor. So now instead of dancing with people, I'm dancing with the wind.
Wow. But that's a little bit harder to bring into the conference. I mean, bringing a boat into the conference.
That's harder, but the principles behind martial arts, behind sailing, they're very similar to what we try to achieve in the to become more agile. So to be able to respond to change. I mean, when you're on a boat, you need to respond to change. When you're practicing or actually fighting, you need to respond to change. You never know what's coming. So that and so the principles behind those things, they all drive the same engine, let's say, and that's what empowers me, I think, or what gives me power, what energizes me.
Energizes.
so,
Yeah,
yeah.
I like that because I do indeed remember. Well, I knew you already before, but I do remember some of the energizes you did at the beginning of XP
Yes.
days with martial arts. I think at some point you brought a sensei to the
Yes.
to,
Yeah, there
to
was a
the
sensei once. Yeah.
and for me these were some of the most interesting sessions, because then it's people from outside, coming from an outside world, showing how a lot of the ideas and the principles that we work translate to that world, or better vice versa, and that
Yeah,
we can
yeah.
learn so much from these kind of things. So
It widens, because otherwise you get constrained. You don't see the principle anymore, you see the form too much, and by changing form you see, oh, but that it has the same principle, so you learn to see the principle behind the patterns behind the form, and that's I think that's interesting.
indeed. Well, I've learned a lot about this. So, okay, let's move to that very first question. What is something that people usually don't know about you, but has influenced you in who you are?
Well, so yeah, again, so I think when people know me, they know almost anything. But I think what influenced me most is my family, my children, my wife. They are my biggest teachers. They are closest to me. I can't run away from them. Well, not really anyway.
They always
so-
find you back.
they always tend to find me back. Yeah, I tried, but I didn't succeed in that. So yeah, that's you get shaven. How do you say that? So it's like oh yeah. So when you have a piece of metal and you hit it with a hammer, so it becomes a sword in the end. So they really
Right.
polish and cut, do the make sure that I stay sharp and that I get the right feedback that I need. Sometimes from in a coaching context or in a professional context, I can still walk away and say, no, you're wrong, and I can move away. But
Or
when I'm
they
wrong
say
at home,
that you're wrong and they move you away anyway. But indeed, at
Yeah.
home, I do
You can't.
remember. Again, I don't know how much you want to talk about, but I do remember at some point that you also engaged or worked or helped out at one of the schools of your children. I think at
Oh,
some
yeah.
point.
Oh, that was a long time ago. Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, that was very fun actually, because the teacher was already open for more things, and then we went in and we worked together a bit. And normally the teacher they bought a script for the play of the children at the end of the year. But now we just went wild and asked the kids, okay, what do you want to do? Okay, how are you going to realize it? So the katas, we did some katas. And in the end, it was a show that they never saw. It's a small school in a municipality somewhere. And in the end, they had a guy so one of the children, they were 9-10 years old or something. But one of them, they was a motorcycle crosser family. And so they came up on stage with the motorcycle. It was a whole spectacle, completely built by the children. So they never saw such a show before that. So, and then the teacher was completely wild, and she went to another school because it didn't fit in that school. that kind of wildness. But now she's a, how do you call it? So a teacher that goes from school to school to inspire and bring. So yeah. So that really changed some lives, and some of the children, the friends from my boys, they still talk about it, about the things that they did there. So yeah, that was
Okay, so
spectacular.
that is a nice way how to collaborate in a way with your children. I took sometimes my children along with me to conferences, but you did the
Yeah.
opposite. You immersed in their school,
Oh,
in their environment, in a way.
that as well. So my daughter, she went. My daughter was a bit searching at some point in her life, and then I tagged her along. So come along and visit. She went to the Socrates the 4 days. She knew a little bit how to program, but actually that's a thing that they say. So now it seems as if I've always had a very like perfect relationship with my children, but we really struggled as a family, and me as a father. So it really took me a while to connect, to dare to connect with my family. And so that's that's something that I'm happy that I evolved through it. But it was a big one, biggie. So,
And was that related to a certain age with the children, or was that?
No, it's me. It's me. So, I've always been an outsider from us. So I never fit in. So that's also why I have this pioneering role. I always am ahead, or not in sync with the herd. Let's say I'm not if I'm always the head, but usually I am. Apparently, and so I'm a pioneer. So I always I have this kind of hard head and keep on going. And that doesn't fit in a family context. There you have the opposite. You have to be open and see what happens, and so. That's something maybe that if you know me, if you know me even pretty well, you might not expect that from me, because it seems like I'm a happy, cheerful guy and everything. But I really had to go through some deep emotional work to really connect. That's maybe something that people don't know.
I didn't. Well, it's at the same time. I was encouraged to say I didn't know, and at the same time I'm not so surprised, because indeed when we did have some conversations, I think the searching soul, or the how to look for things. I think you are also always never afraid to indeed. Discover and challenge yourself in multiple kind of ways.
Probably sometimes too much.
But I can imagine as sometimes in let's say our current I wouldn't want to say economy, but our current state of the world, it's considered that the father figure is the stable figure where that everything is and that. I'm not even sure that should be the same. It should always be like that. But I can imagine if you're still searching yourself, that then for children it might be hard, like how to connect and how to find.
What I think children are also, I think, a good barometer on where you are as a person. It's also if you can make the connection and really make your jump, your personal internal jump, they are quick to adjust. So I now have a much better relationship with my family and my children, and that shows me that I really did something really useful. So in my work, I find myself sometimes struggling, but that's something that I'm actually. That I can see and feel that made a change in the world, not only for me but for the people around me. That's.
But I do recognize part of the struggle. Well, my children aren't studying, teenagers, so somewhere in that, I think a little bit younger than yours, the struggling part were definitely still there. I'm not sure how much is part of me and the connecting, and how much is part of them in the typical age of growing up. But I do recognize what I would call the mirroring that the children do.
Yes.
The moment
merciless.
Exactly, that was the word I was looking for. And so in that sense, I do recognize that, and I'm sometimes, like you say, it's merciless and it might hurt, or it might surprise, but it still is so much value, and I do prefer to have this kind of mirroring, to learn and to like, okay, I maybe I screwed up, or maybe this or that, and have that conversation with them. I think that's also, well, I don't know how about you, but I definitely don't aim to be the perfect father, because I think that's a bad example. Well, aiming is maybe the good thing, but achieving is as damaging, I think, than other kind of things.
Children pierce through that. You can fool people, but you can't fool children. Children certainly they just Meh.
Exactly. That's it. But also, I'm also like, you can't avoid that they get damaged in one way or another. They will need therapy for whatever.
That's true. That's true.
Whatever I did with parenting, and I
Yeah.
can't predict which part, of course. But that's a whole different kind of story.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
we
think-
went already. Yeah, I don't know if you want to add something.
No, I can keep on talking. So go, because we have a schedule.
Well, yeah, but it's that I wanted to say we went already rather deep into that very first question. I really like it. That's how I love to have these interviews started. So let's move to the second one. If you have not been doing what you've been doing now, do you have any idea what would have become of you?
I think I'm interested in sharing what I'm learning. So I think I would have been a teacher or something. Someone. So actually, what I'm doing right now as well. So I learn something. I gain deeper knowledge, and as soon as I see some connections, I feel the urge to share it with people and let's do something with it. So yeah, that I think is a big driver why I'm what you could call an agile coach or something. So somebody who shares their experience, and so I've learned this. Why don't we apply it? I mean, you don't have to invent the wheel every time and again. So build on stand on the shoulders of giants. So let's find a giant and climb on top of him, and don't build another giant too much.
Yeah.
So that's something that I find sometimes frustrating, in that not everybody is interested in those things like I am. So sometimes people say, okay, we finally got a way of working, so let us be. So things are moving, but you're moving in the direction of a cliff. So, and then when it happens, then okay, then I can work. But I have impatient. I'm sometimes too impatient to allow people to fail, and because from my experience, I can see probably it's going to go wrong there. But I have to learn. I am learning to let people just mention it and then see, okay, experience it, because it's not because I know a lot of things that I can't be wrong. So sometimes it does work, and then I learn something, and so that's also
So people still surprise you with that.
every day. But in both ways. Also sometimes I think, oh, this is impossible, and then something switches, and we're off again. So it's accepting. Doing your best, and then accepting whatever happens, and then work with that. I think that's my modus operandi.
And how? So, because the question was, what have you? If you had not been doing what you do now, what would it become of you? So where?
An explorer, of a teacher. So explorer, teacher. Maybe the what's his, the Harrison Ford, the with the whip and the hat.
Yeah, I know.
That one. so an explorer teacher. So that kind of thing.
Yeah, I was. Come on, this is bad.
Indy.
Yeah, Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones. Yeah, well.
Yes, definitely. Oh, this is bad.
Yeah.
That it takes.
That's a role model.
But yeah, I can definitely see that, and I think when you say I pick up sailing, I guess this is also kind of adventure, because when I do assume that when you go sailing that you have an idea where you want to get, but you don't know what will happen in between, I would say.
They have this abbreviation APEM. So appraise, plan, execute, monitor. So it's a feedback loop basically. So you have to plan, but the first thing that will happen is the plan goes out. But you need a plan so that you can adjust your plan based on what you see and what's happening all around you and stuff.
And so
the feedback that you get from a boat is real. So in our world, it's information.
You can.
So I don't know if you can see it, but I have already a big chunk out of my ear because of something that I do.
and somebody said, "Watch out!" and you didn't watch out, or too late, or
no,
something like that.
I was alone.
Wow! You go sailing alone?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, because then you can you really need to have everything on. Yeah, that's what I like to explore all these things. So I want to be able to also to know, okay, how should I act? So I do it in a rather safe environment. So in a kind of inner it's not on the sea yet, so it may be in a river somewhere. So yeah, but still, yeah, things can happen. So yeah, so it was already stormy weather, and maybe I went a bit farther than I could.
That you should.
And the boat tells you.
Okay, and so I'm interested. I'm not sure how big a rabbit hole that is, but what happens then? You get hit by a boat, and then you get dizzy,
by
you're
a piece of
knocked
the
out.
boat.
Yeah, piece of
well,
the boat,
almost, yeah. So the thing is, so I always drive a motorcycle, so I go with the motorcycle to the boat, and there I travel. I go from here and there, and then at some point I was just leaving port, and I was making a maneuver, and I drop one of the sheets, the ropes. Just at the right moment. So I bent over to pick up the rope, and then the heat hit me,
okay.
and I have a hard head for good, and yeah. So waking. So what happened, and bringing stability back is the first thing. Yeah? So staying awake, staying on board, staying awake, and then bringing stability back, and then. But only after an hour or two, when I was able to get back on shore, I could see that my whole was all full of blood here. So I couldn't see it because I was with the ropes and everything, because it was 7 before. It's quite.
So
a big
you didn't notice on your clothes, or you just didn't? Well, you didn't have.
There was
time
no
to
time.
pay attention.
It was just get to the shore. So yeah, it's an adventure, and yeah. So things can happen, but. I also, as an adventurer spirit, you also have to believe. Life happens, both bad and good. And so, if it's your time to go, then you go. You can also trip over a sock at home and break your neck. So I'd rather do that somewhere when I'm doing something spectacular.
Yeah, I think that's. I've tripped over and either broken or did whatever at multiple locations, and never at the moment that I was paying attention, because something might happen. Then that just not happens. Of course, I'm not a stuntman, and so yeah. But yeah, that's the thing. Shit happens to us, and that's just how we have to deal with it. And I really like that you say a boat is real feedback. Sometimes indeed, at work we might get feedback, we might ignore it because we don't like it or whatever. Just like with the children, the feedback is real, you feel it immediately. And with a boat, I think it's even more dangerous, and you learn rather quick to adjust. And like you say, there's a couple of rules that you have to do, like, okay, ignore then the pain and whatever, make sure you get first safe before you do it.
And your body, your system actually helps you with that, because during all that time I didn't feel the pain. That's also it's your system is really built for these kinds of things, apparently. And normally I shy away from pain, certainly from physical pain. But yeah, if it happens, apparently my system can handle it. So that's also good to know. Yes.
Yeah, I get that. That I definitely see that. Okay, let's move to. You talked about a challenge. What is at this moment your currently biggest challenge? At least the one that you want to be open on the internet.
Oh, yeah. Again, I'm an open book. My biggest challenge is focusing. So the advantage of that I have from not being as focused is I think it's the same thing. So I'm very creative. So if I have to do a job at something again, I always do it. I can't do it in the same way. So I always invent a new thing. So it's very hard for me to be consistent and to focus. That costs me a lot of energy. So naturally, I just go up and everywhere. And so that also helps me in a context where something new has to happen, in a complex context where the same thing, the same context, it never happens again. So you need to be creative. That's where I naturally operate. But in a context where everything is stable, I cause chaos. So then I really need to pay a lot of attention and put a lot of energy to focus and be consistent. And there I need I need a lot of structure for that. So that also helps in my work, because when people are working in a certain way, they need a structure to fall into for the new way. And when that structure is not very stable or strong yet, it feels unsafe for people to move from their current modus operandi to a new one. And so being able to naturally find a new way, and then having found ways to structurally make that strong and cohesive, that's basically my main work. That's where I need to put energy and attention, because the creativity part is automatic. That goes easily. But they seem to be the two sides from the same coin or something. It seems to be related. I'm not sure, but that's what I think.
And how is that, if I look back then at what you just talked about with the boat, don't you have to always do the same thing in a boat, or at least learn? And even I would even go back to what you learned in martial arts. There was a lot of repetition, or not?
Yes, but that's practicing that. And like in the boat, it's the same thing. So boat or martial arts. If you go on sea or go or in a fight, you can't do your kata thing. It won't work, right? The kata is for muscle memory to just create patterns, like in code. If you're familiar with for example TDD or design patterns, if you've studied the pattern and you know it very well, you can apply it. But I've never done a refactoring in the same way twice, even the same code base.
How do you, because in the dojo you have to practice these katas. I think also for learning, doing I don't know, teaching katas and etc. on refactoring or other things, you also practice. How do you do that?
That's very important.
Yeah, and so if you have trouble with always doing the same thing, how do you deal with that in these practicing sessions?
Just do it. I mean, that's the work. I mean, that's also being able to sail and being able to code and go everywhere. The creativity part, being in the flow, that's fun, that's nice. But the work is in creating the automations in your practice. So the practical things that you need to do in order to combine patterns to have an exponentially larger effect. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. But as you said in the beginning that you had trouble with repeating, so the work part, in the work part, it's hard, but you do know the value, so you do the work basically.
I've learned that is the work. That's the work that I need to do, and the work that I do is actually fun. That's for me is fun. That's just playing around basically for me. But in order to be able to do my work, I need to work, and work is practicing, doing katas, learning the structures. For example, how to run an OBEA properly, how to make a less planning one organized with all the aspects. So I need to prepare those things meticulously so that in the moment I can do my thing. But I need to be prepared so that I don't go and I don't invent a new scaled framework because I would do that. I mean, that's also why my brain automatically goes, "Oh, I can make something fun from this." And let's use the structure, apply the structure, and then evolve that structure. That's different from let's play. I think when you're a high performing team, when all the practices are ingrained, then you can do those kinds of things. Then you can really, because you can move as a professional team together as a unit, and really be effective. It's like riding in a convoy. I mean, those guys drive with centimeters from each other, and they move all in the same way. You don't do that without practicing, right? So those kinds of things you can only become effective if you focus on that, and if that's an end goal. Right? So if you want to excel at your work, you need to practice, and that's something that I often miss in our profession. And in our profession, people have studied it once, then they learn, and they come into a company, they learn a modus operandi, and that's already hard. I totally get it. and let me stay here. I really, it took me a while to get here, so let me stay here. But that's for me not an option. I always have to move
Yeah,
forward.
learn and learn new stuff and yeah.
Learn and forget. Yeah, that's important.
Yeah, I recognize a lot of that, and I think I love so much what you say about practicing. I mean, the metaphor. I think I forgot the guy's name, the person who invented the coding dojos.
Yeah.
Who
Oh yeah.
I'll definitely
Yeah.
link
Okay,
to
that guy.
the show
Yeah.
notes. That said famously, like, okay, musicians, they practice all the time, especially the amateur musicians. They practice all the time and they do concerts, very limited things. Also in classical music, there is a lot of practice sessions. Depending on rock or other kind of music, they might the best will still practice a lot, but
Yeah.
they will play also a lot. And yeah, we're professional developers. It seems like we never practice. We practice a little bit at school, and then most of us we write code, or I don't write that much production code anymore. But yeah, most developers then write production code all the time, and they don't practice, which is why the coding dojos were so important. Because
And also the mobbing. So in mobbing is where I learn most, because it's there. So normally, if we're working in knowledge work, so that means whatever we do, you can't see it. Nobody sees what you're doing, so you can't learn from another developer. If you're working in a factory or something, you can see somebody do something, and then, oh, that's an interesting thing. I'm going to do that as well. How did you do that? But in coding, I mean, you're isolated, right? So everybody is expected to be excellent by themselves. But yeah, we have different capacity, different backgrounds, different knowledge, different starting ground, different personality. And in a mob, you both strengthen the team and strengthen the code. So the difficult part is being open to the possibility that you can deliver value faster in that way. That's different than saying writing code faster or putting something out there faster. That's also I'm talking about delivering value. It goes faster. Yeah. So that's that's I don't know how we got here, but yeah.
Yeah, but that's I like that the yeah, and I didn't see ensembling or mobbing as as a practicing thing, and indeed that there's just a well, there's many people who are looking at what has been typed and using all our brains together, and then eventually, well, normally we learn. Because if we
It also
wouldn't learn,
allows non-developers to join and see what's happening, because people are, instead of talking with your own brain, you're talking to other developers. So you see how they think, how they take a concept, and sometimes they go very deep into technical things. But when we learn how to, if we learn these patterns and these concepts, we have a better language that's also more understandable for normal human beings. Let's say.
for non-coders, you mean?
Yeah. Well, I see developers typically as a strange subspecies or something, because we are sometimes I think that developers, well, maybe that's my motivation. My motivation to become a developer was then I didn't have to talk to people. But that turned out wrong. So
Yeah, I was
that's
about
not
to
all I
say,
do.
look where that got you. Yeah, I think there was some kind of idea in the past, maybe that was typically what a typical developer was.
That's
But I
changing a
think
bit,
the best developers these days are actually the ones
communicators.
who can communicate.
Yeah.
Indeed, there still needs to be enough time to focus on doing the work. But like you say, that might be happening just as well in mobbing or ensembling. That's probably more interesting than, yeah, I don't know, doing the refinement before and maybe having indeed your product owner, proxy customer, whatever, somebody who knows what the customer wants, or maybe the actual customer in the room, to actually think out loud on what you want to do. So that brings some value in there as well. So yeah, we moved in all kind of directions on where that was a big challenge, and indeed for you, I would say the last thing that you said about trying to become a developer or being a developer, that to avoid to talk to people, that can be another challenge, I would say, because it turns out that you do that a lot, but at the same time, I think you're pretty good at that by now, I would say, even though it might be challenging.
I learned a lot.
You learned a lot about that. But these whole challenges, what were a good thing about that for you? Like
it grows, so it's where you ache, where it's difficult, it's where you grow. So if you don't feel it, then you're not growing. I mean, that's comfortable. That's nice. That's maybe a healing place. But if you want to grow, then you get battle scars, and that hurts, and it takes effort, and it's where things that but there's a difference between, how shall I say, foolishness and courage are very near. So the difference between a fool and a courageous person is that the courageous person knows he should be afraid, or he feels that they are afraid, and they know it, but they still do it. As a fool, you just charge forward, and whatever happens.
Realize it. But I want to go back a little bit to what you said. You talked a little bit about when you grow, okay, these things, and then when you don't grow, that might be a healing place. Does that also mean that for you, because you always want to change and learn new things, I somehow hear that you might not even take enough time to heal, to I don't know, reflect, and you keep on pushing forward?
That's another challenge. I'm learning to do that, because what I'm also learning is by planting a seed, right? It doesn't help to pull on the seed in order to make it grow faster. So you have to plant it, make sure that the environment is okay, right? Enough water, not too much, not too little. That's all you can do, and then you have to just leave it alone. Let it work. Let it happen. And that's something that I needed to learn, and I'm learning that more and more to allow the space to be to happen, to allow the space so things can happen, and not keep on pushing. And that's one of the. That's indeed, that's a good. You sniffed that out very well. That's one of my challenges.
Yeah. Well, sniffed it out. I think you managed. You mentioned it, but you gradually passed by it, and I took just a bit back.
I'm very good at that. When I was in doing the Aikido thing, I had me and another guy. I will mention him later. He was called a very big one, the bull. There was the bull and the snake. That was us. We had two styles that were. So I'm snaky. I get where I want, wherever the path brings me.
Yeah, I can see that, and as coaches, that sometimes is very interesting as a skill to maneuver in a situation that is maybe hostile for what we're trying to bring in, and being too direct might blow up everything,
blow things up.
And this way we can stay there long enough, or stay alive long enough to help change something.
to have an impact, yeah.
To have an impact, that's the word I was looking for.
That's a challenge.
Olivier, we talked about lots of different things already, and the way I know you, and I think in here this conversation shows it already, you have a lot of drive, you have a lot of passion, but do you know where that originated from? Do you know where that passion is coming from?
The main thing that drives me, the words that come up, is we can do better than that. But I think where it actually comes from is from feeling I never fit in. So I have this feeling that I don't fit in, so I need to do something in order to create a safe environment for myself. That's a bit my basic where I come from as a person, and so I feel this drive to change things in order to feel safe. because I never fit in wherever I come. And so that's a bit of a personality evolution to start seeing that. So what actually drives me isn't sort a kind of insecurity, something in myself, that although it sounds powerful to say I'm energetic and we can do better than that, it sounds positive, but it also has some kind of nervousness in it, and that is the other side then again. So yeah, I'm happy with my energy because it pulls me. It's fun to feel energized, but I have a challenge to for example, in the Aikido thing that I did, it also was a part of meditation. I sitting still doesn't work very well, but it is something that I really practice now already for 30 years, and it's still a struggle from the first second I sit down until 10, 20, 15 minutes. 15
But you
minutes,
still do it because it's something
I aim to do it twice a day. I succeed to do it 5 times a week.
Okay,
That's it.
but still, that's 5 times more than I'm doing. And I've been playing, practicing. I've been doing. I have actually told the coach not so long ago that I feel that it's not for me. But maybe it's because I don't try enough. But at this point in my life, I'm like, okay, I'm doing already a lot of challenging things to change. So let's not go there. I'm less inclined to change everything. I mean, like, okay, there's only so much we can do. But yeah, I do recognize that challenge, like trying out something and something that might not be easy, and then still say, okay, but if somehow it brings you something, then it's valuable to keep on trying. I love also how you. I think something that is undervalued is that somehow people feel a lot like I have to do it and then I have to do whatever I'm doing. And what I love that you say is, okay, I try to do it 2 times a day and I achieve 5 times a week. There's a lot of people who would feel like, okay, if I don't do that then 2 times a day, it's bad because I don't achieve it. And it feels here you're like at ease, like, okay, it's 5 times a week, but somehow that is what is okay.
The thing is that I'm much more aware how overactive the mental part of my body is. So if this train is constantly going, I noticed that by being more aware of it, I'm able to regulate my energy, so my impatience, my push forward. So because when my thoughts go there, it's hard to think something else. So by practicing by doing the practice of shutting this thing down, it never happens, but at least being aware that this thing is going, because if you're not aware of it, it just takes you away. You lose your freedom of thought because your thoughts are moving you and you're not moving your thoughts anymore. And by doing this practice, you get more aware of these things, and it doesn't really change what's happening inside, but it changes how you interact with it. And that's a huge difference. That leads to really different behavior. That's what enabled me to make connection with my wife and my family, my children.
Well,
After 30 years of practicing and struggling and doing things. So yeah, for me, it really is something, I feel it's something life-saving, let's say. So that helps in motivation.
Definitely. And yeah, I can definitely see the part in where things help out. That when you have value, that it brings things, that it definitely helps to keep going. And I do recognize the finding ways on how not to have the brain thinking. That I think a lot of it, especially in this day and age, we're so much either connected and we have so much impressions for all different kind of ways. And
Sailing helps.
That I can definitely think that that's the kind of thing that helps at this kind of thing. Okay, let's move to that next question. And so I want to, before I jump to, so the question is, what is your biggest achievement? But what I've learned in these series and this podcast is that basically this is your moment to brag and to be really proud. I've learned in this podcast that it's not always easy for you, for people. So is it easy for you to brag and to say, okay, this is my biggest achievement?
It depends. Sometimes I can be how do you see overmoedig. What's the right word? Lack of hubris.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. So when I feel insecure, I tend to overreact. So then but on the other,
Overconfident, then
to overconfident, yeah. But that stems from being insecure. So that's a funny thing. But on the other hand, I can really see now what I can and should be proud of is I have achieved, even although I don't always know how, but somehow I achieved a context for my family to thrive in. So they have no worries financially. So the whole they have a life from which they have choices, and that's something that I feel very proud of, and that's also one of my what I set out to do. So I went as a married man, I went out into the world to provide, and that's a very important aspect for me, and to find something that I'm passionate about, but that enables me to provide for my family, and I still find it very hard because I'm still struggling, but that I can contain that struggle to me most of the time. So I think that's something that I don't always recognize because it's such a big struggle to actually achieve that. I mean, it's if you look at the economy these days, it's not very easy to do that. But somehow I still until now am managing this, and so. And also, I'm not financially a very strong.
And still, you do that in your very own way. I mean, you're.
I can't do it otherwise. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, because I think that is part of the success in a way that you didn't choose for the easy way out, or I mean, you
I wouldn't know how. Yeah.
Yeah, but that is part why it's important to mention that it's a big achievement, because you figured one way or another out how to do that in your own way, not doing the typical what might work for others, but you do it in your own way, with multiple clients, or
it's not easy.
Staying with one client or with one company all the time, because that's I think like you said earlier on
a large part of that is although it brings me lots of insecurity, I make it a point that I leave the customer constantly the option. If the moment you don't need me anymore, I'm gone. Yes, you only pay me when I'm valuable to you. So that's something that is, on the one hand, I can't do it differently because that's who I am, but it gives a lot of stress, let's say, on the other hand, because very often that I'm near zero, and that but then I always find something that where I can connect again, and then give my full again, and then whoops, so I'm looking forward for becoming more financially adept, let's say, so that I can find a way of working that allows me some peace of mind there, but I don't know if that's possible.
But I've lived a couple of years of welfare, so that is something that I've learned, that for me I need that peace of mind. So I've learned to, first of all, living off welfare, I learned to not spend a lot of money, and as a result also learned that yes, I want to have a safety net, that I can be a couple of months without money, and of course the moment I'm without a job, I start to worry, just like you and like
Anyone?
probably everybody else. But at the same time, I know after so many years, like, okay, things will work out, and I
Yes,
have
that's
some
indeed
safety.
that's indeed something. So even though I don't always see it from myself, but apparently people find the things I do valuable, and I'm learning to trust that that I can bring the value that I want to bring and that I need that is that is wanted. Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah,
And
but yeah,
and
it's
people
still
still,
difficult.
well, after all these years, I would say people keep coming back, and I think, many people, I don't know how much you're still connected with the earlier agile
Experience
community, but I think,
very much.
yeah,
Well, the thing is
people
also it's
still
a
know
bit
your
preaching
skills
for
there,
the
right?
choir. Huh? Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, still, some people still appreciate you and might call you back, but indeed, these might not be your clients, because that's
No,
really where I wanted to go.
we're all looking for this for the client. Well, I think we're all looking to um, level up our profession. So somehow there is some kind of plateau that the profession seems to be happy with, but it generates so much risk and so much problems in business wise so the coaches that I know, so people like you and people that you interview, they feel the potential that is not reached, and also the risks that are taken, and even the problems that are ignored. And so, yeah, the, the good thing is that it generates a lot of work. But the interesting thing is that it's hard to bring consciousness to the root cause, because we seem so eager to patch and go.
Yeah, I see that. At the same time, I'm just very naive, but I have the feeling that a lot of us, we keep teaching people and people learn. But
Yeah,
one of the things I've learned in this series is that, and I don't know the exact number, but someone told me, like, our industry is doubling every X years, and so since we've started since we met like 2004, that's 20 years ago, it has already doubled or tripled or quadrupled our industry and the number of developers. So even if everybody we teach would have learned it, there is still 4 times more people that haven't learned it,
joining.
and
Yeah,
that's why we still need to keep teaching and learning people.
and also, yeah, trying to bring it earlier. So one of my colleagues, which I'll also mention later, he tried one year he really threw himself in college, so teaching young people to develop. But yeah, the whole schooling system is designed against agility, so it's difficult. And also
It's
also
difficult, but yeah, go ahead.
and also the thing is that you get people in your class, and 70% is not really interested. They're just there to taste and sniff, and it's part of their curriculum, but they're not really interested. So you feel up front those 5 will understand it and will make it. The rest is not just it just doesn't land.
Well, I think because I'm don't do it. I'm from time to time I'm called into schools, and I actually love doing
Yeah.
it. So if people are
Yes.
hearing it, check out more, because I want to do more because of the
Yes.
exact reason that you say. But what I've noticed, I've just been doing at Hogent a session last week, I think, and yeah, there is, well, for the workshop I did, there was not met people. We had a very limited amount of people, and that's sometimes what I feel. Those people I teached about leadership, and yeah, from the whole hundreds, I don't know how many students of IT, there's a limited number of people who are interested in, because it's an optional workshop, in
Yeah.
leadership, and at the same time, I would also say many of them, they don't understand the problems that are out
That's true.
on the workforce, because we've seen the waterfallish way of working. I also see now new people complaining about agility, too much meetings, and I'm like, well, you should have seen the number of meetings that we had.
But that's because most organizations are running fragile, not agile. That I totally agree with.
But then there is that problem as well. But even then, I would think, well, in many of these companies,
we evolved.
the number, a lot of these meetings are a lot less than the weekly status meetings that are Friday afternoon. That was that we're all falling asleep. I was about to say the same thing. So there is so there's, but people these days, they don't know, because I mean, I literally grew up when I was at IT school, where there was no internet yet. So everything we learned, we didn't have computers in every classroom. Laptops, they did exist, but they were weighing a ton, and not that there was a very small screen, and basically nobody was using these, and they were like costing more than a car. And these days, everybody's even non-IT people, they go with laptops to school, so it's a completely different environment, and they cannot just imagine the way we used to work, and so a lot of the problems are now different, but still that flexibility, that need for agility, has become even much bigger, I would say. And they kind of take some of that for granted, but they don't always understand what's behind some of these things.
What I also find interesting is that almost all of the things that we teach are invented in the 60s and the 70s. So these things are invented by, at that time, working with computers and stuff like that, you needed a brain three times ours. So that was limited to a very small amount of people who understood the intrinsic complexity of software. And I think that's sometimes forgotten when more people start to develop and we have more support and more tools to surround us. The real core value of a developer is in handling complexity, being able to handle complexity. And we don't really learn these techniques from these old guys who they try to embed it in these tools like fifth generation languages, tools and things like that, and all those DevOps things. And so we get carried away with configuring those tools rather than understanding what we're actually trying to do with them. And that's I think is a jump. And so if that community is growing and growing and growing, the amount of people that are interested and capable to handle complexity, well, that's still a subset.
And
so
the complexity has grown also. I mean, in our days, we literally been so-called, what is it, full-scale developer. It's not the right word, but
full stack.
Full stack developer. In our time, it was kind of possible. These days, it's completely impossible.
It's not possible.
Because the stack has grown so much, and there's so much different kind of things. But
now you have the AI. So you're what the knowledge that you do. So you need to. So it's a level up again. So you use so the AI is for a real developer. It's not a threat, and in contrary, it's a tool that helps you to again catch up with the impossibility to be a full stack, and but at least get the knowledge in order to execute the things that you do. So you operate at another level of abstraction, let's say.
But do you feel that I agree with that? At a level that you are with all the knowledge that you already have, so that you can ask the right questions.
That's it.
I am worried that junior developers, for them, AI might, again, just like with all other tools, it doesn't bring that much value because they don't know how to use the tools.
I think if you're an intrinsic developer, and what I mean with that, somebody who likes to play with complexity for real, they will figure it out because that's innate in it. So I think every profession has a kind of people that it attracts, and there are many tools that allow you. I mean, I can do accounting. I can work in Excel and stuff like that, but I'm not capable of doing real accounting. So there are people that are able to code and program, but they're not actual programmers. People that are actually being able to handle complexity. And so for that, in a mob, for example, that's no longer an issue. You can have one of those guys that's really handling everything, and he can carry, or they can carry the whole group, so that people can grow to the level of complexity that they are able and willing to learn and get that. And that's where why mobbing works, or ensembling programming works so strongly, is because if you have 50 developers, you have maybe 4 or 5 who can really lead. But how can you lead if everybody is individually working? So you can't. So then you need to have the reviews, and so it takes longer than a mob programming session if you want to do it for real, because you have to process all the feedback and then do it again. So whatever. So it's the understanding of how to handle complexity. That's also something that many organizations, or IT, the management part of an organization, of an IT organization, if they don't really understand what software development actually entails, they can't create the right environment. So they take decisions that go against creating delivering value. So they might optimize for something, but it will not be optimized to delivering value. If we already have any kind of measure for that. So that's the thing that I struggle most with organizations currently is the understanding that we need to be able to see the things that we want to improve, and not just define a to-do list and then execute on that to-do list, and then we assume everything is okay. No, we need to define what effect you want, then do some stuff and see, are we reaching that effect, yes or no. So that mechanic, and that's something I think if you deeply feel that, then that's how you operate as a sailor, how you operate as a fighter, how you operate as a developer, how you operate as an organization, being able to respond to change. That's,
Yeah, I agree there. And we moved to a whole different set now, talking about AI.
Sorry, yeah, that's my brain again.
But I like it. It's well, it's probably one of the first times that I've discussed AI on the podcast, but probably not the full first. But anyway, really interesting, because indeed important for people who are indeed working on that. Let's move to that next question. Do you have a personal agility tip to share?
Well, it's all about flow, man.
It's all about flow. So
yeah.
For someone who doesn't know, what is for you the definition of flow?
Flow is that whatever you want to achieve, the effect that you want, it gets there fast and reliable. So on all the things that need to happen, they happen in a fluent way, in a normal, natural way. They hook into each other. There is little or no waiting time. It's clear what goes from here to there, and so on and so on. So if you have a clean factory, so these days a factory has a professional factory. It's optimized flow, so you can clearly see the inputs, what goes into the factory, the limited stocks that they have, how they feed all the workstations, and all the things get assembled together. And in the end, I mean, you have to, if you look, for example, the Tesla factories or the BMW factory, the new one in Munich, those kind of things, they show what flow can do. And so you have zero to no waste. There is no fat in this. Well, there is fat, but only the necessary fat to make everything turn. There is no excessive fat.
I like that, what you say, the necessary fat too, because indeed, completely lack of waste is also a problem. Exactly. That's I literally had a bicycle where there was no fat on the.
It doesn't work.
Well, it made the same noises that you just did. So yeah, we needed to grease it to make sure that it keeps working before the chain breaks. Indeed, that's the exact same thing. And I think that's but it's one of the things I've learned from Lean, is that there's multiple kind of waste, and sometimes there is necessary waste, like there is it's not nice, but just like, well, when cooking there is also waste, because
every process has waste. I mean, you have input, you process it, and some of that process evaporates in heat. That's waste, basically. So you can capture a bit of it, but whatever. So the thing is to balance. So yeah, well, my sensei always said, the most important thing is balance. Everything that's alive, or biological, or physical, it looks for balance, dynamic balance. That's all, because static balance is called dead. I mean, we don't want to be dead, but a living thing is a dynamic balance. So that means it's also when you're running, you're in a dynamic balance. That's all. You're not static. And so when you're talking about flow, we're spending the most of our time generating value, rather than I'm typing code, whether I'm fixing a bug or whatever. So being aware that your value comes from generating value as a developer, rather than I'm paid, so I'm happy. So so in many of the retrospectives that I hear, I had Matt said that is, how do we feel as a team? I mean, that's important to ask from once in a while, but if that's the only question, then we're not getting anywhere. So how are we contributing to the organization that is feeding us? I think that those are questions that we sometimes don't ask, and we should be asking them a bit more, I think. Either you believe in the organization and you want to strengthen it, or it's just a way for you to get paid. Either is good, but that organization needs to be able to keep on paying you, right? So
that is a part of the whole challenge.
And of course, you can see I'm just a small peg in a 20,000 employee thing, but I mean, a single person can change the world. I mean, that's also you can. I think every aspect. People are contagious, let's say. So if you have a spark and you feel that there's something can be done, even if it's within your own team, that's where it starts, and you create some kind of momentum and be getting picked up. It's more fun even. It generates pleasure, and I'm not sure exactly, but there is a definition of happiness. So what are the things? There are some steps. So it's feeling you're feeling engaged, that what you do matters, and so there's a list of things. And I think if you're aware of those things, then naturally you become a stronger contributor to the value that's being created.
I like that. And indeed, again, to go back to what you said originally, flow. Yeah, everything that you do that is not bringing that value, and like waiting and whatever is not, then you're not into that flow. And if you're delivering things that you might even be in the flow, but that is not bringing any value, then it still is waste. And sometimes in companies we might feel that we're busy, but busyness is
very busy sometimes, over busy.
And
so very busy and not generate. That's a very sad situation to be in. To be very feeling very hard pressured and feeling energized to actually live up to that pressure, but actually not delivering. So not delivering the value while everybody is so hard working. So that's and if then a coach comes by and say, guys, we have to work faster or something, or the effect of our process should be that we follow. Are you nuts? I mean, we can't follow right now. No, you don't have to work faster. You have to work in a way that allows the value to be generated faster with the same effort. But that's so many words that people already lose you after the second word.
And it's like, I don't have time to listen to you, Olivier. Let me keep working.
Go away.
I think we both
recognize
that.
I think it's a large part of our job is to find a way to change that dynamic. And I think a lot, like you said earlier, is the leadership is a gigantic part in that. I think many of our leaders in an IT position are people that were very good at something. They got promoted, and now they're a manager, but they have no clue how to do that. So they follow trainings and stuff like that, but those trainings are rarely adapted to the complexity to manage in an IT context. So I think sometimes we get promoted towards a handicap, and so towards how do I do this? So I now I'm here. I can't do this job that I really like to do, the engineering part.
And I think we live in an environment where people are kind of pushed or seen like, oh, that you need to take that promotion because that's what success means.
It's a demotion sometimes.
I think both of us, well, at least me, but I think both of us, we have already coached people that you see like, you're not happy in that promotion. Do you really want it? And maybe it's better to go back a level or two, maybe.
That's
to feel
sometimes
happy
hard
again.
after a decade or 2 decades. People
definitely.
feel stuck, and that's you. Yeah, that's it's hard to see and not easy to guide people towards a place where both they and the organization can thrive more. And you also can't force it. I mean, you don't. I want sometimes I the effect of what I'm doing is if people feel forced, but I'm so passionate because I can see the pain, both for the organization and for the person themselves, and I'm very sure that they can be much more effective and much more happy in another context where they can be seen more as a valuable person. Sometimes people are. It sounds hard to see because as a coach, you come in an organization and you see the dynamic, and you see people really getting parked, and they just wither away somewhere in a corner, and that's something that I find hard.
Yeah, I recognize that. Okay, I want to move to that next question. What have you learned about remote work?
I learned that I'm actually like being around people.
And here was Olivier in the beginning of his career trying to avoid to talk to people.
So I mean, so when we know each other like this, we can have a heartfelt conversation. But if you're digitally connected, then it's hard to for example, if you're physically connected, you can just look at around and you see somebody standing up and say, "Oh, I'm going to walk with him and have a chat." You can't have that. I mean, there are tools that allow you to do something similar, where you can have a kind of an avatar where you can move around. So now I'm going over there. It's a bit artificial, and I think it's the best that we can currently do with our current technology. But I'm much more connected with everything that's going on. You pick up things that otherwise, well, if you don't open your a chat channel with somebody at least, or a video chat or a typing chat, a text chat, then you don't know, and even you don't even know if you're disturbing them or not. So I always feel a bit. Can I disturb you now? Sorry, I already disturbed you probably. And then, because I know as a developer, I don't. I want to be able to focus. So either each time I get a message, I've lost my focus. So I really like the. It's a bit in dubio. So I like that part of being physical, but I also like the ability to remotely focus on something. So then I can snap from my family life immediately to my working life, and then immediately snap back into a family life. But also I don't have the decompression time when I'm going towards or coming from the work. I used to have a decompression time. Certainly on the motorcycle, you have some kind of, it all flows over you, and I don't have that at home. So I immediately, what's going on, it's immediately also in the family life going on. So I don't do that, but maybe I should go for a walk between stopping to work and coming back home. But I don't do that. Maybe I should.
Yeah, I have in COVID times, I know a lot of people did a fake commute, like, okay, walking out of the door, coming back, and then only entering their office. I love the idea, and I can see how it works for many people. I prefer than to just stay, I don't know, 5 or 10 more minutes in my office and whatever, watch some YouTube videos or read something, whatever. But indeed, cool down my brain in a way. That's indeed some of these things. But that's in a way is also a really important thing for people to learn. Like if you're working remote, make sure that you plan some time to have that disconnection, because if you work physically, it's something Well, in Belgium, unfortunately, the time between in the office and home is in a lot of times way too long, the commute. But
Except if you have a bike. The bike, it's okay.
well, I'm working these days at 8 kilometers from my house, so I go with the bike, and then it really is relaxing. Um, but yeah, I need that. If I would be just 1 minute around the corner, yeah, I would need find different ways, and I did in yeah Corona times. I did find ways to decompress in my office before I went to my family, because I need something like that.
Yeah, I
I
think many
want to
people
move.
during the COVID,
Yeah.
in the COVID time, many people found the walking back. I think we lost that skill somehow, or that activity. Yeah.
Well,
Thinking,
yeah, I've been working. I don't do it for the videos here, but I'm working on
yeah,
my walking desk, and also for me in that period, I walked a lot more. But then from my desk, a lot of people think they need the nature. Somehow I need it less. I'm still looking ahead. I see
it's the
nature
movement.
around
Yeah,
me, but for me, it's a lot. The movement is what's helping me a lot. I
yeah.
wanted to move to that next question. What is a book that you you wanted to bring?
Yeah, so it's actually it's behind here. So it's the book Leading with Obeya. It's a
And
book.
that's the
Yeah, that
book
one. Yes, absolutely.
from
It's,
Tim Wiegel.
so it's from Tim Wiegel. So all the things that I learned, all the different things, the different techniques, and all the techniques that are not related to coding techniques, he brings together in a very nice way. So it's very much inspired by the Toyota TPS system and Deming and all the guys from the 50s and the 60s who actually invented all these things. And he brings it together in a way that's very concise, structured, and it feels like, for example, like Scrum, a very good way to get started. To connect your organizational goals with the activities that are going on the floor. It helps people that have no real training in managing software teams, if they ever need to be managed. Right? So, but if that's your role, it helps a lot. This structure helps a lot to finding a strong way to not work against each other. Because what usually happens is that from the central point you have several a single goal with several strategies, and they all go about, and then they all or many of them, they ask different things from the same person or the same group. So that means that person decides the strategy of the whole organization, and nobody knows. So by making that visible and clear, and seeing, okay, how does pulling this end of the rope affect that end of the rope, right? So when you have this kind of Gordian knot, that you, if you make that visible and tangible, and you learn the behaviors as a manager, right? like as a developer, you need to learn the behavior to operate effectively in a team and in a mobbing and a pairing session. There are things to learn, habits to and ways of communicating. That gives a very strong structure to see where you are going, and whether that is the intention, and whether that's always contributing to the actual goal that the organization is going. And I find it very strong how he brings everything together. And all these techniques are known. I mean, if you study these things, these techniques are known, but he brings it together in such a nice way. And so 5 areas that need to be constant. So you need to be in a room where you can see all the information there in a way that you can take decisions. If you ever need to take a decision, I have the information there. If it's not there, it needs to get there in one room, one place, and not 50 Miro boards scattered everywhere. No, one Miro board with a limited real estate to look at. And that's a lot of work. So you need to prepare, it needs some knowledge how to transform data and information towards something that drives that drives value. Right. Again, the flow. So
yeah, and but like you say, again, that's the idea of an Obeya, that everything is central.
Yes.
If it's digital on one Miro board, like you say, or whatever tool that you're using.
Yeah, it's less than a physical, but yeah, we're living in a remote world now. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I wanted to go back. I do remember in some organizations that we worked, is that you walk into a room and it's plastered with Post-its or with information there might be digital screens, but you look around and you have everything, and you want to know about different teams, you could just have everything.
It makes me think of when we were at ING, when we made that graph of how the project was going. Yeah, so the project manager, green, 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 and then we had this that's the target, and we're going in that direction, but actually we need to be here. So how do you say it's green?
Yeah,
just
visualizing.
plotting it and making it visual. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing, making visible of the real situation, and to avoid what Johanna Rotman would call the what is it called, the
Traffic sign.
well, yeah, but not that she talks about the traffic sign, but with the fruit that is red on the inside.
The watermelon.
The watermelon.
Yeah, the watermelon
says,
reporting. Yeah,
it's
green on the outside, red on the inside.
Exactly. That's the kind of reporting.
But that's also I don't necessarily blame people are doing that. I mean, it's the culture that punishes red. If something is red and you get shot, well, you don't do that twice. So yeah, so it's also at leadership level at where the decisions are really are taken. If you want to see red and see red as, oh, these are the things, this is good because then we know where we want to improve. That if that culture is can be grown, well, then you're gonna have, then all the watermelons will start to burst, and then it takes a while because if people were punished, it creates a culture that really sticks. Fear is a strong motivator. And trust is how does it get in Dutch? They say trust comes by foot and it goes on horse.
Exactly. Yeah, but that's the thing, and indeed, this is why we have the watermelon reporting, because people feel that they can talk in a different kind of way.
See the real things.
And it's at multiple levels, because some of the managers might want to want it green because their job might depend, or their bonus or whatever.
Yeah. Then you have the KPI things, but also in the book he talks very very strongly about why KPIs can't work, in the sense when they are personal KPIs. So if you're personally responsible and multiple people are personally responsible for one thing, and those things actually work against each other, well, then you just have a fight. And the end result is waste, and the thing's not moving forward. While if you can have a conversation, okay, what of our KPIs make more sense right now, then we can make an order. And then if the benefit is judged together as a set, then you can make better decisions. Yeah.
I agree there. I want to move to, for me, and especially for today, I was really looking forward to this. One of the most interesting questions, like, what question do you think I should also ask you, and what is the answer?
I've been thinking about this, and what came up with me is what triggers you into emotional reactions, because an emotional reaction is something that you when you do that, it's an automatic reaction, so you have no freedom of changing that. An automatic reaction is a kind of a safety system in your as a human, that you have to be able to respond quickly to danger. But of course, if that programmed response is no longer fitting to the environment, you get a problem, right? So sometimes it's very important to react angrily, but usually that's not the case in a meeting or when you're collaborating. I mean, if you're in a dark alley and you're being robbed, then it's good to react and be angry and show that. But
there's not many how would I say, lions and tigers in a meeting.
Not so much.
There might be elephants, but we don't need.
But you don't see them anyway.
We don't see them anyway, and getting angry doesn't help to bring them out. So yeah.
And the reason I think that's important is that, again, like what we talked before, is that's where your growth is. That's where if you can shine light on that. But I think that's a personal trajectory. I mean, it's not something that you work on in the workforce, but in order to grow, it's useful to know what are the things that you emotionally react to. And what's interesting about that is that usually other people know that better than you yourself, because it's a kind of a blind spot. So I also try to see, okay, what triggers me into an emotional reaction, and where I'm at is when I feel I should know the answer, or when I feel that when I should have known the answer and I might have given the wrong answer. That's then if and it doesn't matter what anybody else do, but if I get that feeling, I can get very sharp, and it's in retrospect, it feels as if I'm responding to a very sharply to a situation that feels dangerous for me somehow emotionally.
And so because you talk about this is a personal trajectory that I assume you worked with coaches or with, I don't know, in
yes,
different kind of ways of working on that. How did you discover, or could you say something about that discovery? First of all, that question in itself is already very interesting, but how did you do that to get there without going too much into the things that you need to go, of course?
It was the only thing that worked to evolve personally. I mean, so I talked before that I had this kind of challenging growing up as from an adult man to a mature man. That's a different thing. It's not because you're an adult that you're mature. So growing up from an adult man to a mature man, I got stuck in lots of these emotional reactions, and your family is your best mirror, and not only mirror, but also normally you care about each other, right? and so you want to. I mean, from a colleague, you can say, "Yeah, fuck it, I'm out of here." But in your family, I mean, that's your home base. Anyway, I made a choice to. I need to evolve if I want to make this work, and it's me that needs to evolve. And so I tried out different things and failed a lot, and eventually I came out to something that's called multiple things, multiple teachers. So I listen a lot to podcasts. That helps me, and then whatever resonates with me, I go deeper. For example, Abraham Hicks is one thing. Eckhart Tolle, those kinds of sources help me. Stoicism and those kinds of things. But what the actual practice where I really started evolving is first Tantra. But so you have different kinds of Tantra, of course. So Tantra is basically the counterpart of meditation. So the both things came from let's say India. And so the meditation part is the becoming aware of your mental body, and the tantric practices is becoming aware of your emotional body. And so those two. So you want to be able to disentangle yourself from whatever is happening there, so that your head or your emotions don't go running away with you. It's important that you think, it's important that you feel, but it's important that they don't carry you away. So that you become your own entity, and that these things are happening inside you, but that they are not you. And so those two things, so they together form the foundation. And so now I'm working on what's called, I think the book is called the presence process. It's kind of a process that you follow 10 weeks, and then you repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. And that's something that's allowed me recently to be able to see where I'm emotionally triggered. Where before I just said, I'm emotionally triggered, so that's my response to you, whatever. So it's your problem, not mine. But now I start to see, well, it's something that automatically, that from the outside, I get touched and I respond immediately. So I don't have any freedom. So if I want to have freedom in a world that touches me in any way they want, I need to work on myself. And that's been a journey. So the last 4 years, I've been going through kind of how do you say, the platwells. So when you're baking, making dough, so you go to this squeezing things, and I feel I've gone a few times through, and I feel that I'm evolving there, and so I'm my barometer is my family. And so the way that they respond to me and they connect with me, I can feel that I've deeply changed in that sense.
And the book that you talked about,
Yes,
is
that one.
this one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that one.
Glad I just looked it up and glad I found the right one. Maybe it was a different
It's
one.
even the revised version. Yeah, it's a guy. It's interesting. His own process, how he came to this this thing. And of course, I also have my wife. My wife is also very very knowledgeable in both physical and mental health, and helping there. So
Yeah.
But, I have my personal coach at home, so that's good. And I can't
Yeah.
run away from it, so that's the same.
Yeah, at the same time, I can think that it's sometimes also challenging because I know that with my partner, if I would use coaching things I've learned at work at home, that's a no-go. Actually, but that doesn't mean like these days. I've been talking a lot about in the podcast. These days, actually, we try to do a weekly what I would call, where both of us we would call a retrospective. We look back at our week, what went well and wrong, but we don't call it the retro. And we learned it because of joint therapy sessions, where relational therapy.
And just
that we did a couple of
recognize it
years.
as a retrospective. That's
Yeah,
it.
and I know it's a retro, but I wouldn't use these kind of words because for her that might trigger other things or might like. But the effect is like, okay, let's just sit around every week and look at different kind of things, and irrespective of how it's called, because that name is not that important.
No. In our context, it gives context, but in another context, it
Exactly,
doesn't give
I
context.
can use the word, and then everybody understands. So many people understand what we.
Or more or less,
Yeah, well, it's always a little bit different, of course. But yeah, I'm really interested in the whole process you went through, because I've recognized some of that myself a couple of years ago. I'm probably not where you are at this moment, because I'm at a level that I recognize sometimes emotions, but that might be too late.
But yes,
cases,
I'm there. Too late.
I don't know what I would say. At work, I will hardly ever lash out, or my emotions won't take over. Just occasionally, it still happens. But at home, of course, that happens a lot more. That emotions take over.
They know where to pull you. They know your buttons.
Pull, and of course, there is so much more connection. So
Yes.
there. But then again, like you say, it's very easy or tempting to say, well, the problem is on your side because you pushed the button. Well, no, maybe we should disarm the button and then let's look at that. Okay, we're again moved very deeply and very interesting conversations. I want to move to because I think it's a large list. The people that you want to invite next. So
I saw I saw you already have a large list of people. So there were of course a few people that on that list that popped up immediately. So I'm not going to mention them. They already got their things. But the person that really came to mind is PwC, Pascal van Kouwenberg.
And this is
that guy.
Pictures of Pascal.
That's a long time ago, I think.
It's we both know him since the early 2000s, but but at the same time, I think the last couple of years, I haven't seen him, so I don't have any pictures of him in that sense. So why would we invite Pascal?
Well, it's actually I was just starting to become aware of a thing called agile. So I didn't have a word for it yet, but I was doing something in that area, and we got in a conversation because he was working in the same place as I was working, and he said, "Well, maybe I'm organizing a conference on this, so let's join." And he's a very I would say silent, very loud in his silentness. He's very influential, but not by talking somehow.
Right.
So he was. I think we're still riding on the wave that he created with today's XP days. So that he's really not maybe the one who created it, but he took it over from someone, and he really made it what it is today for me. And I liked his the way he very much how he made things happen. You hardly ever saw him, you hardly ever heard of him, but you know that he was the one that made it all happen. And I want to give him some visibility, some credibility, or I don't know how you say that, some attention and some spotlight, because I strongly feel he strongly influenced me in a very positive way. And I think I'm not the only one. I think
it counts completely for me as well. And everything you say, I recognize. Like, he's not what we sometimes call in Dutch a table jumper. Like,
No,
okay,
not at all.
he's not at all. And at the same time, everybody that was at that conference knows how much influence he had, and how much impact he had on all of us, I would say. So that indeed he influenced me on certain books that I've read, on a lot of other things. So yeah, that's definitely he was on my list, eagerly waiting for somebody to invite him. So I'm really happy that you did, because indeed I think that's his. Yeah,
also his
someone that I really
perseverance.
liked.
I mean, I remember we had weekly or monthly, we had these pair programming sessions where we just came together, and with all kinds of people that weren't able to communicate, real nerds. So, but still, he was able to bring us together and let us work together and invite us, and yeah, I don't know. It was he really for me, he's my founding father somehow. So yeah. So I'd really like to connect with him somehow again. I know.
I love how you also remember, or you mentioned the pair, what is it, pair programming parties, I think they were called?
Pair programming session, I think it was called.
These were evening events where people could, the way I remember it is that anyone could bring a project, anyone could bring something to learn, that they wanted to learn, and then basically you got hooked up with duos or maybe multiples, and we just worked on something with the intention to learn and hopefully finish also something on a personal project or something else. But yeah, that was kind of the idea, and that had a lot of impact on many people, I would say. And I like how that how that
also,
influences. And I think also the original code for it was now replaced, but for the conference came from that as well. That was completely designed in these pair programming parties as well. So that was an interesting extra way. Okay, I want to, because we have a lot of list, what I will do is, because otherwise it will become a little bit too complex for me to find the right slides, I will just show a couple of pictures of the people that you invited, and then you talk about them.
Yes, that's good. Yeah, cool.
Hopefully I have the right pictures. I know everybody that you talked, but let's see. Who is this?
Yes, that's Jonathan. That's Jonathan Hessen. I got to know him as an analyst where I was working as a Scrum Master 15 years ago. And what's remarkable about this guy is he's quite silent, quite observant, and when he talks, it's spot on. So, for example, he can visit and he talks to people and he analyzes and he gathers information. Then he says, okay, in 3 months this is going to happen, in 4 months that's going to happen, and then this is going to happen. And then whatever. And every time he says those kinds of things, if you look 3 months later, that happens, and then that happens. So he has a way of analyzing a situation brutally. So he doesn't give you what you want to hear. He tells you what is happening now, and if you don't change course, it will end up there. And I don't know how he does it, but it's very, the way he communicates is very precise. It's very calm, very precise. So I like very much how he thinks, how he acts. He's very sincere, and so he's often surprised and shocked if people are insincere. He really doesn't expect that at all from anyone. So it's somebody who I really like to work with, because he's not always understood. So he's someone that I would like to kind of embrace with a team or something. And so that we together as a group we work, because I think he's very powerful. But yeah, if you harm or hurt him, yeah, of course it becomes very much more difficult. So he's also immature, then he grew older and stuff. So he's more resilient, but I really like his I think I don't know, oprechtheid, it's sincereness, I think. Yeah, so
Yeah,
he's
sincerity, I think.
really fully sincere. When he connects with you, he connects with you. He connects with your mission. And that's massively powerful. Yeah. And no matter how you misbehave, anything, he keeps on. But that's what you want, really. That's really what you want, actually. So we have to go there, right? You're not doing that. So he keeps on.
He's mirroring
making
again
you
and showing
aware. Yes, very, very. But he's also aware on okay, he follows this kind of active listening course, and I followed those courses as well, but he goes another level, multiple levels deeper in this. So he applies this very strongly, and yeah. So that's Jonathan is one of my.
Okay, I'm already looking forward to talking to him. And who's this?
That's the book that
I had to add all the books that he's listing on his LinkedIn.
Yes, yeah. Well, so that's the bull that I talked to. That's when I had the bull and the snake. So we were together on the tatami in a previous lifetime when we both were doing aikido.
I had no idea.
So
because I know him from the work life, but I had no idea you knew him from.
Yeah. So we are from there. So Guido is somebody who, when he enters the space, you know it, you feel it. He radiates. Presence, let's say. So he's very based, very calm, very knowledgeable. So you don't mess with the guy. And so that's the point, and that's where we're going, and we're gonna go there. So it's very, very clear. And he's a kind of person where if you're going in the same direction as him, you feel protected, safe in order to go with him. Right. If you're in opposite sides, it might feel different. So
but you might have a conversation. He's first of all very knowledgeable on as a developer. I think he calls himself a veteran software developer or something like that, or software engineer, and he is, and he has paid his dues, I think, in a way, but he also learns and knows about all these different kind of ways of working, and not just because he did it for that, but he also learned from much others, and knows in detail about the technical craftsmanship and everything that goes with that.
But also much more. So he's also knowledgeable about the organization, how to connect with an organization, and
I've seen him work as an architect, really, having being able to guide people to that. So that's indeed, indeed very nice. Okay, and then I think this is the last person that you want to bring up.
That's Chris. That's Chris Hofman. Actually, he lives in between us. If you would draw a line between our two homes, I think it's somewhere in the middle between us.
I had no idea, because I know Chris, but I had no idea where he lives. Yeah. That's the problem with community people, that we meet everywhere, except that at our homes. Let's put it like that. So why should I bring him?
What? Come again?
Yeah, why should I invite him?
Yeah. So he and Guido, they met. I think it was at the Socrates evening somewhere, and they came up with the idea. And it was a third guy. I'm not sure who it was, but I have in mind. I have an image in mind, but I don't know exactly if that's the right person. Anyway, so they hooked up, and they founded this the Triple D company, where they.
Yeah, you mean Dominique?
Yeah, Dominique. Yeah, voilà.
Yeah.
Yes, then I had the right guy in mind. So they have with their knowledge, but they not only have knowledge, they are also able and capable to run a company, which is something completely different, something at the next level. But what I like a lot about Chris is he can absorb situations. He can absorb information. He's really, when you're talking, when you're sharing something, he's listening, and he's really, is it this what you mean? So, and he's very knowledgeable about how to realize a solution for it. So I think he's as far, I don't know much about how they founded their company, but I think he's a major driver in this thing. But I also found amazing is one of those guys as engineers who has their own data server in the garden, So
Wow.
where they're all the whole technology is in. So also he knows about every cable that's in his house and how it is connected and all the automation that's happening. He knows all this. He's an engineer pur sang. But not only that, he's a guy that is an engineer and an entrepreneur and a person who can connect with people in a passionate way. So yeah, also a personality that I love very much, and also but also his expertise. So those are the guys that I learn from and I want to learn from in mobbing sessions. So when every chance I get, I work with those guys to in my part to absorb their vision on things and their view on things, and that really helps me being backed and let's say trained in a way by those level of people helps me a lot when to have the confidence to talk to senior developers that do not know these techniques and really bring them, okay, guys, this is something that you don't know. You have to know in order to get to that level. If that's a problem that you have, that's a way to do it. And so without it, I wouldn't feel that secure, that confident. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I would say, but maybe I'm hearing something that you didn't say, not just on a technical level, I think.
Yeah, correct.
Also on, because for me, mature developers, senior developers also means some kind of maturity, not just technically knowing a certain thing, but also, but for me, a real senior is someone who's able to coach people, to help, and actually spend a lot of the time teaching others, getting to a certain level, and not just I know I'm just how to type and I know all the.
I think there is value in all of these things. I mean, you need some. So I know a guy that I worked for back in the beginning 2000s. There were 3 sales guys and a developer, and the sales guys were sales guys and the developer was a developer. But they really worked together. So so the organization was run by the sales guys, and he was making sure the engine was running. So there's value in every skill. It's recognizing who you are, where you want to be, and then finding a modus operandi together to make something work. So
but that is also part of the maturity what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
Because it is. I was maybe talking even at a higher level, but indeed, the minimum that you need to have is find a way on how you organize yourself and maybe surround yourself with the people that have the skills that you don't have. I mean, again, this is another kind of a full scale of knowing everything.
Full stack,
full stack, but then full company, whatever.
That's something that I'm still looking to develop in myself. So the ability to surround me with people that I together with as a group we can do things, because I feel so often as alone, because as a coach you go alone somewhere, and that's something that I would like to achieve at some point. So that we already have that with Jurgen de Smet. I also interviewed him. Right, it's the co-learning in the beginning, and now the simplification of this. We have this kind of community, which helps me a lot in feeling. But it's I want to have the next level. So the ability to really, maybe it's because I'm not used to work to operate in that sense. So the grass is always greener on the other side. So I'm very happy that I'm independent and can go where I want. But I start to ache for an experience in really being part of a bigger whole. So as a coach, you enter a bigger hole and then you change something and then you have to let it go again. And that sometimes I wish I could be able to work a little bit more there. So yeah, it's always a human. You're never happy where you are. You also want the other thing.
Yeah, I recognize that again. Yeah, I was very much aware of when co-learning started. Unfortunately, at the moment, because I worked closely with Jürgen and
Erik Talboom.
Erik Talboom at the beginning, but I was about to start building a house and I decided not to
No,
join them.
in your garden.
And in my garden, which I'm now living, and I even if I regret that I didn't join, I'm happy that I took that decision, because building a house is like,
It
yeah,
was very sharp, and
and,
they did a
well, for
marvelous
me,
job.
I compare building a house like working with 10 teams all at the same time and coaching everything. Like, everything is changing, everybody has different kind of
Constantly.
all these different kind of
Schedules
challenges,
and
and so that combination would not have worked, and I would have disappointed everybody at co-learning, because I wasn't at my best game
yeah,
at this
me too.
period. But
I
still,
want to share something about from Erik, because Erik and Koen Metsu, those two guys, they together, they are the reason that today we still have the Socrates, the software craftsmanship and testing community. They started it out, I think, for 2 or 3 years. They were coming together monthly with 3, 4, 5 people, and now it's a community. Wherever you start it up, 30 people show up. So that also there, the co-learning guys and together with Kunmetsu, I really love how people who can really create something and plant a seed, give it enough water, and see the tree that came out of it. And they're no longer involved, so they gave it to the next generation, and so they matured.
That's what I thought. So, but but like you
powerful.
say, it's they created it at a level that it's possible to let it grow, or to continue it grow in a way.
Yeah, that's a kind of a legacy, and that's something that I'm a bit jealous of. Let's say I would like to leave some kind of legacy at some point. But yeah, maybe it's smaller.
Sometimes hard as a person to see the legacy, and just to because we mentioned his name already multiple times.
Yes,
this is Erik.
Yes.
And actually, I will use it as an excuse to invite him as well, because I was also looking for an excuse to invite Erik. But there is, it's dangerous,
so many good
because
people.
Exactly, when we keep talking, I'm pretty sure we'll mention another 10 names that should be here. But yeah, let's start with this list. Olivier, it's been really fun talking to you.
Nice, thank you.
For the people that want to connect with you, what's the best way to connect with you?
I think the easiest is LinkedIn. So that's
that should
I think
be this link.
Yes, I think so. Yeah. So if you're interested in connecting and learning how to meditate or go sailing, or exchange war stories and these kind of things. So if anything triggered you or inspired you, I think if you put a message there, we can connect. I tend to not accept people that I don't know. So if in your message of connecting, say that you know me through the who is agile, because I try to connect people
that
I know.
Important to mention, and at the same time, I can say LinkedIn has started another dark pattern a couple of months ago. That since a couple of months, if you don't pay for LinkedIn, you're limited to a very low amount of people you can connect also with a message. So these days it's horrible. So for me, for Who's Agile, for example, because I connect with so many people, because like, okay, today I know everybody that you invited and I was already connected. But in many cases, there's 2 or 3 that I don't know. If I would every week try to connect with them and send a message, like after 1 week or 2 weeks, I am already not allowed to send messages anymore, which is very annoying. Either I have to pay, and at this point I'm like, no, I'm not sure that it brings value, because it's at this point I'm not ready to do that. But it's very, and especially because I'm like, the fact that they force you to pay to add a message to connecting, I feel It gets me angry. Talking about
Yeah.
emotions and yeah, that I don't like that. I discovered that at the moment that yeah, I was connecting to a lot of people, and I was like, no, and then said no, but if you want to add a message, you have to keep paying. I was like, no.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm
maybe.
less.
Maybe not.
So these days I connect. So if people connect with me without a message, I do accept them, but I immediately start sending a message why. And if they
Yeah.
start selling me on something, I disconnect because
Yeah.
that's the other thing. Okay, really wonderful time. I do
Great.
hope
Thank you very
that
much.
we should indeed spend some time again in the next couple of months face to face, exchanging war stories, because I have the feeling that although we haven't seen each other in a long time, that again our lives moved in very similar directions and have similar kind of challenges. So yeah, very wonderful conversation for me.
Good. Thank you very much, Yves. Thank you for inviting me. It was an honor. Thank you very much.
Thank you for
See
watching
you.
Who's Agile, where the stories of agilists come to life. I hope you liked today's interview. Subscribe if you're not subscribed and want to get to know other agilists.